We'll see what happens. Every when it. I mean, hopefully Dahlia comes here, but why don't we start out? If Dahlia's not here, Annette, why don't just to get time? Hey, Ava. I had
Hey,
some. Yeah, I had some guy over at our house. He's kind of a nut, but he has this place where he does um, psychological analysis by psychedelics, you know. And right after that, I had a dream that the sky was just alive, that there was, the clouds would turn into big fish, start swimming through it. There was a big, like a tube, black and white coming down. And then finally, this train goes by in the clouds. And what Jung said about psychedelics is, hey, Adalia and Camilla, is that it just throws it envelops. Oh, and there was these big waves that were trying to inundate us. But what he said is that that the experience of the unconscious needs to be slow and halting. But if you use and it puts a moral obligation on you. But if you do it through psychedelics, he says there's no moral obligation, and you're just enveloped in it. But anyway, Camilla, why don't we do your dream, and we'll try to spend about 30 minutes on it, and then we'll do Annette's dream. And hopefully maybe well, then maybe if Ava or Charles or Camilla have a dream too. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to put this in the chat. It is a very good dream. It kind of follows up on some of Dahlia's other dreams. I'm going to just put it in the chat right here. See if I can get it going here. Right. Let's see here. All right. Okay. This is kind of formatting a little goofy, but that's okay. Let's see. And then there's a little bit at the end I missed. Okay. There we go. Right. But I love this dream, and I'm anxious to hear what other people say about it. I think my little word processors here is a little goofy. That's why it's formatting funny. But, I like the because it's sort of breaks it up. Go ahead, Dahlia. Why don't you read the dream?
Okay. Okay. I'm attending a reception, and there's a woman who's my friend, my mentor, and my older advisor. And she's dressed very well, almost in a luxurious way. We've already met before. She was wearing a very elegant suit. Now she's wearing a tailored, like, long jacket and a skirt. And it's almost white, and it's all from wool. And it has it's like small balls, like embroidered small balls all over the clothes. And this style reminds me of knitted pieces from magazine I used to look at when I was a child. And her tights and shoes are also almost white, beige, and from wool. She looks really very stylish, and I'm very impressed. And she's a small lady, like thin and small. So with her at this reception. It's kind of business reception of some sort, and there are other people too. And there's also another older man, and he says to me about talking about this woman, that she knows very well what she's doing and what kind of impression she's making. Like she's using it, the way she dresses, to her own advantage. And then we are talking about my studies, like, and that I graduated this year. I have a diploma, but I still need to do my master's degree. And I'm studying again, and I am applying for the university again. And if it's going to be a master's degree, it's going to be in design. I need to finish studying design, like I need to do the whole program. And I want to be liked by that woman very much, like, and want to be like her, and to show her that I'm also very educated. I had that kind of impression, like I want to be liked by her a lot. So that's it.
Well, great. Well, let's get going on it. Now, this dream has this wonderful image, first of all, of this the reception. So this is you know, a ceremonial event where someone achieves some milestone and people come there to join in the meaning of the event. And we often, it's sort of magical. What's the meaning? You know, they want to participate in the meaning of event. And it's a place where we often, at least in my case, meet unusual people, okay? Well, there is an unusual person there, a woman, a friend, a mentor, and an older advisor. So, you know, the fact all of those descriptions are very similar to a description of the wise old woman, you know, who the wise old man and the wise old woman will appear in either either gender's dreams, but it tends to be that the feminine self is the wise old woman and the masculine self is the wise old man. So this is the we're going to find too that there's other clues to this. Now, the fact that she's there gives us a clue to the meaning of the reception too. You know, this mentor, this wise old woman. Now, we've met before, okay? We are acquainted with her. This is someone who we're acquainted with. Now, here's almost the theme of the dream. The theme of the dream, and it is showing her divine aspect. She is wearing a very elegant suit, a tailored, done by hand, jacket and skirt, all almost white. Okay, now this sort of reminded me of the flowers that had somewhat of a beige aspect. You know, so it's a sort of a combination of being a pure being, but not quite so pure. Okay, so she's somewhat neutral. You know, she's a neutral being. She's someone who's divine, but she's not you know, of you know, she possesses both aspects of the shadow, the dark aspect, the underground, earthy aspect, and also the heavenly white aspect, which in my opinion is a little overrated. You know, you know, one thing, you know, Jung keeps writing about the black sun. Okay, well, what's the difference between the outside sun, which is consciousness and logos, and the black sun? There is another aspect of consciousness within us that comes from the underworld. And what's the symbol of consciousness? The sun. So, you know, the whole idea of Jungian analysis is to, you know, that we have a black sun in us, one that's underground, and yet it is a consciousness with which we need to become acquainted. Okay, now it's embroidered from small woolen balls. It's a knitted suit, one that's made by hand and weaving. And now her tights and her shoes are almost white beige. So everything is of she's almost clothed completely in this color. Now, it's very stylish. Okay, stylish, and but the dream ego is fascinated by it. So this aspect of her her aura, you know, the aura that she possesses. Not only is she a mentor. Okay, what's a mentor? That is someone who helps us become like them. She's also older, so she's has some connection with the ancestral world. I mean, she's of a generation that's not ours, you know, and she is and an advisor too. So, I mean, all right. Now, she is wearing this suit, which is sort of a pattern. You know, now we call this in, there's sort of a pattern. Sometimes, at least in the United States, I don't know where that it came from, but, you know, it's called chenille. You know, I don't know, you know, if you've seen chenille clothing, woolen clothing. It's more often seen in you know, cloth of this type, you know, like this, you know. Let's see. Yeah, it's called chenille, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, the main reason I know that is because there was this comedian in America. Her name was Phyllis Diller, and she wasn't the prettiest comedian. And she'd always, when people would meet her, she said that she just took a nap on a chenille couch, and that's why her face looks that way. You know, I mean, she just had it anyway. That is this woolen fabric. Okay, now she's also thin, so she's spiritual. You know, in other words, she's not. You know, there is an aspect of her thinness usually means that there's an aspect of her that is not related. She is feminine, so she's related to the mother world and the feminine, but she's also thin, you know, so she's not very full of matter. And the fact that she's small often means something to do with the creative aspect, and also has something to do when you see someone who's young or someone who is small, it tends to mean this is our discovery of whatever it is. You know, it's still not completely, you know, has not, at this point in ego consciousness, it is not dominant. It is still has smaller, you know, it's a smaller part. Okay, now then, so the dream ego is with this remarkable presence, and it's at some business reception. You know, business is the middle plane. I mean, it's actually it's where you find it is the place where one world meets the other. You know, this is why Hermes, who has the key, like Hecate, I just found out, has keys to all three worlds. So Hecate also had keys to all three worlds. She's called the goddess of the liminal world, of the boundaries between worlds, because she has the keys to each one. Hermes is very similar to this, but I don't. He often anyway. It's a business reception. Now, who comes in now? An older man, this wise old man, okay, comes in, and he says to me about this woman. Now, this is we must listen to what he says, because it's you know, almost a divine. And this reminded me of something someone Jung said one time about one of his dreams. He says, he says about her, she knows very well what she's doing, what kind of impression she's making. She uses it the way she's dressing to her own advantage. Okay, well, who is the feminine self? You know, basically, this feminine self within us, or the masculine self within us, is our seed and our root. And it has synchronistic magic because it contains the unmanifested destiny of our life if we allow it to flower. Okay. And it doesn't know what the destiny is, but within it, it is extremely well. It is has a pattern, like the dress does, a design. That's what the feminine self really is. It is a design or a pattern that is supposed to unfold in our life, you know, and it has synchronistic magic. In other words, it's going to be linked with the unknown future events in our life. Now, the fact is, it's not determinism, you know, the fact that there's somehow knowledge of what's going to happen at the end, but still it's uncertainty. I mean, it just, I think sometimes the early life has this aspect of it's all, concrete and unveiled, but the future life has many possibilities. But there is one book, that we're on page, it's 400 pages long. We're on page 153. But the book has the next 247 pages in it. But it's really the unveiling, or the unfolding of the pattern or the design. And so she knows very well what she's doing and what kind of impression she's making. She's using it, the way she's dressing, the design, the pattern of her appearance and who she is, to her advantage. Okay. Now, Jung in his Liverpool dream, it sees in this grimy city of Liverpool, which had to do with the water of life, pool and living, and it's very grimy, sooty, and dark. But in a lake in the middle is an island that is clothed in light with a magical tree growing in it, which is really is the wise old woman or self, this unfolding aspect. And one of his companions tells him, "Oh, did you know that there's a person from your hometown, Basel, Switzerland, that lives right next to this place?" And Jung didn't say anything, but in the dream, he thought, "I know very well why he's chosen to live here. I know very well." So there's an aspect that she knows very well what she's doing, and she's addressing us. She's not addressing anyone else. She's addressing the dream ego. Okay. And then, okay, now, Dahlia, who are you talking with? And then we are talking. Are you talking with the old man?
It's just, I don't know, there's a discussion.
They're just a discussion, a general discussion. But yes. I was wondering if it was the old man or with the woman, but it doesn't make any difference. But then we are talking, okay, now you are now we're talking about your development. Okay. Your development up to this point and your future unfolding. Okay. And we're only halfway through our unfolding. we're approaching, we're in adulthood, we're approaching the later aspects of young adulthood, and going forward on that. And so we have a lot to learn. Now, what is our master's degree going to be in? Patterns and designs. The unfolding of this destiny of our the feminine self in us. The feminine self, the wise old woman, is the ordering archetype of wholeness. It tries, all of its dreams are sent to help the flower bloom. And so if we're not blooming according to the order of the archetype that we were born with, which everyone is different. There is no two alike, because the universe is a becoming thing. Life is a becoming thing, and every life needs to possess that which has never been seen before on land or sea. Something that is totally new. That's what nature wants. It doesn't want, especially in its vessel in the outer world. I was thinking too, I go down and I see this great mother before any life has come into the world. And I ask her, well, why did it take you so long to come up with your vessel in the outer world? And she says, like you need to be accustomed to my world, I needed to be accustomed to yours. And so, how did rocks and dust become alive? Rocks, dust, and water become alive. It's just amazing how that occurred. And so anyway, this idea is that I kind of forgot my train of thought there. But anyway, you need to finish studying the pattern and the design. In other words, you need to become more acquainted with it, learn more about pattern and design. Whose pattern and design? I would say it's we want to become more like the feminine self. Who is the feminine self? There is no other wise old woman in the universe other than your own. Your own wise old woman is the unflowering of your life, not that guy's life and not this girl's life, but your own life. So each self within us is not the same. Anyway, so let's just go through and see. That's just a stab at it. Definitely not definitive. Annette, do you have any thoughts about this dream?
Yeah, that was lovely, Greg. That was beautiful. Yeah, I wrote something down as you were saying, because otherwise I forget. But what I wrote down was that it reminded me very much of the senses aspect of this incredibly beautiful dream. This woman that was so elegantly dressed, and I don't know what your type is, but if the senses type is your dominant or your inferior, I don't know. And it also reminds me again of Earth, then, of an Earth woman, an Earth goddess almost. And that she reminds, I got a feeling also about the inner beauty in the wise woman, the enormous inner beauty in our world, which is so beautiful, as you described. And also that there was a spirit aspect, like the spiritual, perhaps that there was a longing and also an appearing of a new world with a union of the divine masculine and the feminine, as you had both of them in your dream. And I also seem to remember that that's actually happening in the sky in February. There is a union of, I think Mars and Venus are conjunct, but I have to look that up for sure. But I definitely know that there is a union in the sky as well, so that you're very much in tune with the patterns and you know, what is around you in the natural world. And that's going to be your new business, almost like what you said, it's on a business plane, and it's going to be your daily life, perhaps, you know. And yeah, that's what I saw. And then the Jung and the Liverpool dream as an archetype of wholeness. Yes, that this following this way will lead to even greater wholeness in your life.
He knows
right.
very well. I mean, it's just haunting words. And you know, Annette, you had to dream about earth colors and the sensate realm, and you
Yes.
needed to paint your house in the earth
In the
colors.
colors, yes. And I've done it, and it has quite an effect. Yeah.
Yeah, and it has a feeling function, but aspect to it, a feeling toned. And in Dahlia's dream, there seems to be the fact that it's beige, sort of emphasizes the lightness that is we're unconscious of, but does not miss our the fact that we need to have our feet on the ground, a very light brown, cream or beige. Yeah, beautiful. And yeah, Dahlia, I don't know if you are, I would say if you're probably, if it's a sensate dream, that it's either your third or fourth function. I don't know if you know much, anything about your functions.
I know some, but I'm like, I think that actually sensation is my dominant, like,
okay, great.
thing. And design is what I studied in reality. So in my dream, there are many, many things which are like real. So for me, it's difficult to see a little above the real facts in my dream. So when you talk and share, it's like, oh, it's like opening a little bit more in symbolic way, in metaphors, and like, yeah, it's opening other doors in my head at the same time.
Sort of like above, so below. I mean, the fact that there's a aspect in you that needs its pattern or design to unfold in the world, because not because of the world, but because of the invisible reality within you that asks for that, you know. That then suddenly unconsciously you might have been attracted to design and patterns because it's an important theme in your life, you know. And I just love how much that the dream ego focused on every little aspect. Now that is very indicative of what Annette said, that your dominant is sensation, because you know the sensate. You know, like my wife's daughter is a sensate, and she can come in, and 5 minutes later everybody leaves. She can tell you what every person was wearing, what they all ate. You know, very clued into that world. Camilla, what's your thoughts about it?
Hi. Thank you. That's a nice dream, Dahlia. Well, I was thinking a few things. I got a bit stuck on the white, and I got stuck on, and I think that's probably more your, Craig, your association to the wool thing about chenille. But I just looked it up while we were while I was listening to you talking, and chenille is, and I don't know if you said that because I was then a bit sort of two places at once, but it means caterpillar. And I thought that was interesting in the context of white as, you know, one of the 4 stages in the alchemical process, where the white is, yeah, I think also it has this spiritual aspect. And I don't actually know too much about this, the whiteness of it, but it's something about being divided into two, and then later on through the working of the oppositions, they coagulate again, I suppose, the black and white. And in between that, you have the red and the yellow, which also have their own sort of definitions, if you like. And so I got stuck on that. I didn't at all get an impression of this woman. I got an understanding of what she was wearing, but not at all about who she is. And that she's almost, that was one aspect that I thought is really, really important, because that might have something to do with what Craig said about inferior functions. I don't know, but that was what I was thinking. And the other thought I was thinking was the response of the old man, which I think was so condescending, and is, from my sort of experience with women who are both very beautiful, strong, successful, not giving quite a fuck, quite easily criticized in this way by the male. And it could be the male in the feminine as well. So it's not only, you know, men who do it, women do it too. But at the same time, she's also put on a pedestal. It's something that the dream ego really would like. But it's also giving a bit the woman a stab in the back. So I thought
Can I ask you?
I thought that was an interesting conflict in the dream.
Good, Annette.
Can I ask you? I
thank
missed something about the condescending part. I didn't hear. When did that happen in the dream? I must have missed it.
Towards the end, when when Dahlia or the dream ego speaks to an older man, it's in the chat. The dream is written in the chat. If you want to go through it.
I'll have a look. Yeah.
Yeah, but he sort of, what does he say? He says,
she's all about appearances. She's all about her outer persona. I mean, that was something that confused
and
me.
not only that, she says she knows very well what she's doing and what kind of impression she's making. She uses it, the way she's dressing, to her own advantage.
Oh, that's certainly condescending. Absolutely. That's kind of a stab in the back, I would call that.
I would say that. But it's of course it's something I've witnessed both externally but also internally. And in a dream, I suppose it's between different aspects of our own, you know, personality. That sort of new aspect, the thing that is trying to transform caterpillar aspect, chenille, the wool, the design, the structure of the design that you find so attractive, and which you would like to become more, the dream ego wants to become more. It's also a threat to something else, something more established, something, you know, masculine in you, or in the dream ego. That was I think maybe I'll come with more when
Camilla, you're wonderful at detecting things no one else detected. I mean, you're like the fact that in Gary's dream, the only one that could hear the alarm was Gary. You know, I totally missed that. Okay, so
thank you. It was a good dream as well.
Yes. But based on your wonderful, you know, intuitiveness about that statement that the wise old man made, now we have a better clue about who he is. He is the negative animus in us. So the negative animus in us is criticizing the feminine self, the wise old woman. Who now another thing that Camilla said that was very interesting. Go ahead, Camilla. What were you saying?
Well, I was just thinking of, I'm not sure how much you're familiar with Melanie Klein, and she has this concept of envy. Yeah. And that is a very important sort of developmental aspect, which could be in women a sort of negative animus, I think, because it's like, it's an envy that happens towards the breast, because the milk and all it's separate from it, so it's dependent on it being given to it, and so it creates some conflict there. But I thought something about that, and you know, the white of the milk, and that also I thought was interesting, even if it was of course wool. I also looked up to wool, and the kind of wool that we use in fabrics is not the external layer that we cuddle. It's a kind of underlayer which is called pubescent, and that has to do with something young, like you said it, in the age of the woman. So I'm babbling, so sorry, I don't know if it makes sense, but you can use
Oh,
it.
it's brilliant, Camilla. That's brilliant.
Very good, Camilla. Go ahead, Dahlia. What were you gonna say?
No, but thank you very much for pointing this out, because I remember when I was even writing down the dream, like about the man, like I had like mixed feeling with, like, he's telling me like she knows what she's doing very well. So it's like, is he on my side really? Or it's like, it's like, yeah. And thank you very much for like, yeah, for your insights. Thanks.
Yeah, he's complimentary of her to some extent, that she's very clever and she's very sly, but he's saying it in a negative sense, you know, that she's very clever and she's very sly, but she uses it for ulterior purposes, only for her own advantage, no one else's. Okay. And now that would be something. The negative animus is yeah, I'll send it again, Dawn, by the way. Hi. That the negative animus is criticizing the design and pattern of the feminine root within us, you know. I mean, it's somewhat critical of it, you know. Now let's keep going though, because I mean, everybody's given some wonderful, this is the beautiful thing about this collaboration, you know. I mean, everybody, it's like the blind men who walk around the elephant. Everybody sees something different. How about you, Ava?
Yes.
Yes, definitely. I always find out what I don't know is what I don't know or don't see. What do you think, Ava?
I was thinking about Dahlia's later dream about marriage and the bouquet, wet, the seeds, and I'm focusing on this dream is so structured. It's so well structured, and I'm thinking about well-designed bouquet, and maybe it's an answer to the latest dream you had, that this is the seeds. It's making a map in some way, I feel, for your life, and you are defending yourself against this trickster Animus. You answered you will study further and make your master's degree. Oh, my English, I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's great, Ava. You're doing great.
And it's the same color wool as the beige.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, I had the same feeling, Dahlia, that this dream is a wonderful follow-on to another dream, another somewhat of a reception. It's our own wedding, but we're sitting way off to the right. And we're wearing a very simple dress, but the most elegant dress. Again, this has something to do with the design and pattern, is laying beside us. And what's it doing there, you know? And it has this wonderful beige aspect to the the fact that there's whiteness in it, is somewhat hinting about the animus, his white qualities, and yet it has that little bit of brown that is in us, so it's our animus, this beige, and the flowers were brown, okay, no color in it, and so it's sort of a lack of feeling function, a lack of relatedness. Perhaps we're too isolated. There's a part of us that's a little bit isolated. Yeah, that I believe that too, Ava. That this dream is totally connected to that previous beautiful dream, and they are both very well structured. Charles, what do you have to say about it?
Not really a whole lot. If I were an analyst, I would ask, judging off what everybody else said, is there a part of the dreamer that has a sort of critical attitude towards going to design school that says, oh, you're just doing this for your own advantage, or some type of selfish desire? Do you have a sort of do you have some sort of like something that is a part of you that is critical towards that? Because I see the woman with the fancy clothes pretty well linked to this desire to be a designer or something. I don't know. Those were my thoughts.
The designer and the pattern, and that's very good, Charles. I would say this: who is the biggest critic in who is the one that holds back the development of the feminine flowering? It is always the voice of the animus. The animus is famous for belittling and criticizing everything that the woman tries to do in an active way. I mean, it says, oh, you're not good enough to do that. Don't even start. I mean, it often is an inhibitor to development until what we really have to do is it needs to serve not as this negative naysayer. What really has to happen first is the feminine needs to become completely strong in herself as the feminine being, and then the animus is now to be in service to her. It's not to be her king or dominant. It is to provide meaning into the flowering of her being as this just this aspect, the wonderful differentiation of gender. It's absolutely beautiful. You cannot have an energy flow unless you have two poles, and each pole in its own way is very beautiful. But if the masculine world tries to crush the development of the feminine realm, that's not its role. It is to serve as to bring words of meaning and symbol to the development of the feminine, especially to the images of the unconscious as well. Dahlia, we can't cover this dream in completeness, but next time we do it, let's after we brood on it, I think we're going to come. But I want to do what Ava says, is to relate this to the previous dream. What is your opinion? And the fact that Ava said that the design aspect is appearing in multiple dreams. So it's a motif, this pattern or design.
It's difficult for me to detach because I worked as a designer. So it's like too literal for me. And I had also concerning the master's degree, like I have 2 bachelor's degrees in reality, but no master's degree. So for me, it's a little bit, I know I don't have to take it literally. I'm trying and like trying to detach from that, but yeah, and
I would say sometimes the dream, occasionally, but I think very rarely, that the dream is being very, very literal. You know, one I remember is there was this guy named Swedenborg. You know, he's kind of I believe he's Swedish, or I'm not sure, but he was very overweight and ate too much. And one time in a dream, somebody just walks in and says, "You need to stop eating so much." You know, but I think you have to remember who is the composer of the dream. You know, it is really, and then this is just my own opinion. Don't say this is written in stone, but in my opinion, or my experience, let's put it that way, the one who composes the dream, the author of the narrative, we're participating in a play. Who wrote the play, that we're participating in life? You know, we're just a actor on a stage, but who wrote the play? It's the same one who's sending us the dreams. It's the arch designer in our life. The one, what is an archetype? Okay, it is what's a type? It's a pattern that's put down, and arca means primal. So it's the primal pattern, the primal design. That's what the art. Go ahead, Camilla.
Yeah, I was just thinking that it also could be something about ambition, because I don't know in design, but certainly in my area, it was always better if you have a bachelor, then it was good to have a master, and if you have a master, then you should have a PhD, and then you should have a postdoc. So it's like kind of never ending, this idea that you should be more educated in order to get to where you want, right? That's kind of little one thing to be thought of. But then I also thought that she is probably the expression of the ambition, something that you dream about. And so sometimes it also gives us tools to what is holding you back from reaching your dream. And the Animus is a pretty good example here, I think, to what can be holding us back, if it's a very strong voice in our work, in our relationship with our work, or if it has a very personal touch, for example, and you are not a super confident woman, then this voice can have a very destructive effect on ambition. So that was
absolutely, yes, I would link in with that. It can drive you to heights that you don't want to go, for instance, and make you take risks you don't want to take or something. But also, I was also thinking, a master's can be also seen as just like everybody becomes when they're older, a master at what they're doing, a ripening, in your life. Yeah,
because the structure, I suppose, is your psyche, right? So it may be about design, but it certainly also has the sort of reflection of the psyche of your the structure of your psyche, which means that it's also a development of our psyche. The dreams always sort of hint to that, I think. And
I have
that's
a-
why I thought the structure of the designs, I would have loved to see them drawn by you, because I'm sure that they would be very beautiful.
Well, that would be wonderful, Dahlia, if you could do it. I mean, it would be adding the medium of expression to it, but you know, which the two things we can do, the medium of expression, which is going to be feeling tone. In this case, I love the fact that the feeling is beige, you know, and somewhat muted in its color, you know, but you know, I would just say one thing about literalness. You know, the literal realm does not possess the water of life. It's very dry, you know, where the inner world is full of this living water, you know, and it is always, you know, in like in Ovid's Metamorphoses, it's mercurial and it's always changing. But so there's an aspect of the inner world is using the literal developments in the outer world to tell us a story. Tell us a story. Oh, you know, you like design. You like patterns. Well, you know who also likes designs and patterns? You know, the feminine self. You know, and I think her dress, she's actually wearing the wedding dress that was in your previous dream, the elegant wedding dress. She's now wearing that dress, you know. So now wears that? Who was that wedding dress meant for? Well, it was meant for you. But your you know, this divine aspect in you, it wasn't meant for you. It was meant for the divine aspect in you. Okay.
I was thinking in terms of you, by the way, of the way that you described in writing, at least, that it was the whole skin that was covered in this material. So I came to think of it also as a kind of skin, and then thinking of the woolly materials, the chenille, which is like the underlay, the wool that you use to create yarn, is the sort of underlay. So there is something very sensory, very soft, very, and then the skin is the largest organ of our body.
And this is an outer skin. It is a skin. You know, the naked ape, you know, clothed in space, basically without any fur, you know, requires this outer garment, you know, and you know, we did the book Aurelia, which was this wonderful book, which abounds in symbols. And this Nerval says, the goddess of dreams appeared before me, smiling and dressed in Indian style garments. She began to walk among us. This is his goddess of dreams. And the meadows grew green again, and the flowers and the plants sprang up over the earth at the touch of her feet. And this was because of her smiling, dressed in Indian garments. So in another passage, Nerval says the drapery and designs of his beloved's dress became so mixed up with the flowers and plants, also design. You know, the flower is just this wonderful design aspect. Why is a flower so beautiful? You know, what's its purpose? You know, why is you know, I often ask the soul, why is the feminine face so beautiful? You know, where a man is hard, the woman's face is soft and inviting, you know. So the aspect of the designs of the beloved's dress became indistinguishable from the flowers in the garden. So there's this aspect of the flowering, the clothes are related. Now, also, clothes are much more related to the feminine aspect. I mean, in other words, that you know that what the masculine gives birth to are abstractions and things that are far away, where the feminine gives birth to flowering life, to flowering life. And one of the aspects of her, which is much more important to her as this divine being of flowering life, is she is a artist at the outer skin. The outer skin is important to her. My wife started getting her Social Security check, and it's her secret stash now. So it goes into her account. I never see it. And suddenly she's showing up with a Louis Vuitton stocking cap with this great big brown thing on it. And something I wouldn't wear, but it's so important to her. She's finally being able to express herself. So it's also an object of expression. And, we need to express our inner essence, and anyway, I'm getting a little off topic, but Dahlia, did you have, I'm way off topic. Okay. Dahlia, what do you have to say?
No, I loved everything you said. It's like, yeah, I think I'll watch again and work on this dream more. I worked very straightforwardly. I bought a wool sweater, like woolen sweater. So it's like really not a ritual, but yeah.
That's a very important thing to do, really. It's sort of your own little ritual reception. What does it mean to have this wool sweater, cashmere, or whatever it might be? Well, let's keep moving. Now we owe Annette and Ava and Dawn a dream, and Charles, I can do one with you maybe tomorrow afternoon if you have one. I said you said you weren't recording any, but let's start on Annette's dream. We're about 10 minutes late, but go ahead, Annette. Why don't you tell us your dream?
Sorry, I just had a quick look. I had to recharge my phone, but
okay. Sorry.
I'm back again. It's okay. Sorry about that.
Take your time. No problem.
Oh yeah. I think this is also in keeping with perhaps the negative animus. Dream is I'm with my family, especially my nephew. He is kind of how do you say it? I am his godaunt. And this was back when he was a toddler. In reality, he's in his 40s, but that's in my dream. He was a toddler. And there's also GP doctor present in the company in the dream. I'm told that my nephew Mark has had a dramatic change after his latest injection from the doctor. Talk about something
topical.
Yeah, before that, he was very playful, lively, and climbing everything. Nowadays, he's just quiet all the time. He doesn't move anymore, and he's sitting in his little chair all day, like a child that is only good all the time. I'm asking questions about the injection. The doctor tells me he probably made a mistake. He gave him the preparation doses, he calls it, rather than the child's doses. So I'm shocked to hear this and feel anger in me. I tell him, I truly hope for you, you have everything documented. Your paperwork is in order, because this will be questioned on a deeper level. And it will come out what happened, I say in my dream to the doctor. So I'm getting into a conflict with this doctor figure. And then I felt it had to do with a restrictive regime and an inner animus regime that was living in me. But anyway, that's as far as I got.
Okay, well, let's go with it. And okay, so now we're with a family, and it's your nephew, and he's an Irish what? Did you say?
Yeah, he's actually a Dutch. I'm his godaunt, like, they very old-fashioned habit that you're the second mother of officially from heritage. like, you know, and I
Mhm.
don't know if it still exists, but usually it's just a kind of a celebration thing, and it's just a kind of a habit from the past. But in the olden days, it meant you were the second mother.
The second mother. And so you're his second mother. Yeah, okay. Now, is this your sister's child or your brother's child or
My sister's child.
your
Yeah.
sister's child? Okay. All right. Now, he is the growing thing within us. He is the growing masculine aspect in us. Now, that whenever we see a child in a dream, it means the discovery of the inner life. You know, so the fact that it is young and hasn't grown yet, it is this is also has to do with the smallness of Dahlia's figure. It is the discovery of a life within us that is just budding, just developing. Okay, and then now there is a doctor in the dream. Okay, now yes, I would say that this is now remember this is what von Franz says, the negative animus in us. The reason they're negative is because they have a negative anima in them, you know.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the fact that they're not in, you know, they have a diseased feminine aspect within them. And it's the same thing with the negative anima or the negative mother. She has a diseased masculine aspect within her. That's why she's acts that way. But the doctor is there. And now this nephew was given an injection. And we're the nephew's second mother. Okay. And so it's our child. Forget the sister. It's our child. But it's interesting that it's one step removed. Okay.
Yeah.
The fact that it is it's emphasized that the child is a child of an other type. You know, it isn't the common child. It's an uncommon child. And his name is Mark. So yeah, that has you know, some possible connotations or symbolism, but who knows? So now he used to be unbelievably lively, and so the growing thing within us used to be unbelievably playful, you know, it just absolutely charming, you know, which is what this discovery of the self needs to be. But since it has been injected with the poison of the negative animus, it now has no life. It is just a quiet, ordinary thing. So this negative animus has done something to stop the development within us. Very much like Dahlia's person who wants to stop the feminine self with the divine dress. Don't pay any attention to her. She's all surfaces, you know. Now in this context, yeah, it's the now what did we give him? You know, yeah, we gave him not the medicine that helps the growing thing grow healthy. We gave him the adult medicine. Now, the adult medicine, you know, what's that poem about Wordsworth where, you know, the prison house falls upon the growing boy, you know, and he just becomes like a machine. And what makes him a machine is the literal world. Up until that point.
But I actually think it might be also collectively happening, but I think that happens with a lot of children that, and it's so sad that they are forced into little adults.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
And
it is. I mean, because Yeah, what happens is they live in the magical realm. You know,
Yeah.
they are participating in the living water of that invisible reality that lies behind time and space. Which, by the way, who invented play? Who invented joy? Who invented laughter? Who invented the the movement of listening to beautiful music or beautiful rhythms? Who invented the delight that when we see a fortunate image or piece of art or sculpture or building or garden, you know, that's really done? Is that coming from this dry adult world? No, it comes from the world of magic and play, of the of that we have been you know, separated from. So now where do we live in when that happens? What's the adult world? Okay, it is the enchanted castle, the one that has had a curse laid on it, something that needs to be a charm that needs to be lifted by some heroic aspect, because nothing happens anymore. It is living in a place of no newness, you know, nothing, no becoming thing anymore, which is absolutely the requirement of this magical world. You know, that's why I say it is totally allied with joy and play and everything. It has a grim side, and it's not apologetic about it. You know, one animal eats another animal, or you know, people die, people get sick, but that does not, you know, death does not deny the beautiful joy and love. I mean, it's not a refutation of it. You know, I mean, it's just this fact of the cycle. There's a cycle going on, and it always has to be new. You know, what becomes new becomes old and goes back into the soil and becomes part of the earth. You know, but it's always this upcoming thing, and that upcoming thing in us has been truncated. Let me see if we've got this anything. So then you are angry and you say, it will come out what you did. What you did, and you did it not, you did it deliberately. There has a deliberate aspect to it, that it was no accident. Okay, well, let's just go through the, let's see. Dahlia, what are your thoughts about the dream?
I think also maybe it could be interesting to ask about this like medical field, because I think you had also another dream I remember you shared, and it's like what association, so meaning it is for you, because it's like danger field or something is happening. But I think for me, I liked it impressed me like you were confronting it at the end of the dream, and you like felt very angry, so you had a like strong reaction, and you expressed yourself in that. There was a confrontation. So yeah, I'm very curious about that, like doctors injections or something, and I don't know, needles even, or something. Like I remember it was light or something as well. And
yeah, the injection, that's wonderful. The what's the instrument of his sickness or his thing? It is the pincet point of the animus. You know, his animus. He injects the poison with his one pointedness. You know, which is not helpful to the growing thing, not helpful to the development. Camilla, what do you see in here that we missed here?
Well, my first thought was that Freud would have a field day in terms of the injective part.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right.
And the
I
toxin.
hadn't thought of that now, honestly.
I thought that was but that's because I'm participating in a Freudian seminar about the interpretation of dreams.
Okay.
So it's quite interesting to have these two by my side. And I was in that sort of line of thinking about castration as well, because that's also a big part of Freud's that he found. And I was kind of thinking, that how do you say this? That you have the child who goes through, and I'm not sure when this happens, but this sort of magical time. I think it's around 7 that it's visible that things changes. And then it gets sort of the injection of reality or whatever it is. And I think castration in Freud is earlier. I think it's more sort of, he puts it together with the development of the genitals. But I still think that there is some kind of relationship, because something is taken away from the child, the joy and the sort of happiness. And I think that's very significant. You say you're from Ireland, so I don't know your sort of religious background, but I certainly know that that is a huge part of your history. And so I had some thoughts along those lines in terms of, and that might be my naughty thinking, but if we are staying with Freud's sexual aspect, then there is the whole history about the priest and little boys injecting things. And you were speaking about accessing things on a collective level.
Yeah.
So it has that aspect, but as a thought, as a response to that as well, I think we can only really help the collective level if we are willing to take these dreams in and work with them individually. And so in that sense, yeah, I don't know if it at all has that sort of area of subject matter, but this was just my thread of thinking when I listened to the dream and to the others speaking.
Okay, thank you.
And that came from one of the most probably open societies in the world of the Netherlands, to a very conservative, in some ways, not in all ways,
Yes,
land.
absolutely.
And I mean, they both have their positive and negatives, but you come from this very, 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 very open country to a country that is a little more cautious or something in some ways. In other ways, it's totally wild,
Exactly. And I was just going to say, in the Netherlands are not as liberal as they pretend to be.
Yeah.
Truly.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a shadow aspect in both sides, but yeah, it's just an interesting combination,
Yeah. Yes.
Now, Ava, what do you think about it? What thoughts came to your head?
Right now, I'm thinking about. I want to know more details. Where he is sitting. Did you say that he was sitting in the sofa?
In a living room. He said he was sitting in a living room. I was in a living room in a family setup, and I was clearly the visitor. I was visiting this family of my sister's family, basically, and it was currently, but it was also a flashback, like, because this boy is a man now with his own children, but in my dream he was the toddler.
Oh,
And
that's interesting.
yeah.
And could you see any colors or something? Because my experience is that there could be a few details that could point. There's always something in dreams that point on the living aspect, and I miss it in this. So I think was he surrounded? Were there any
Yes.
colors?
Nicholas. Well, they were just, there was a lot of furniture in the room, I noticed. And then initially they were all together. And then I simply was told what happened. And then I was led further into the dream where I saw him again as a small child sitting almost as a school desk, you know, like properly sitting in a little chair in a desk and not moving anymore. And of course, I also thought of, you know, our current health regimes that are going on everywhere. But I don't think it's about that maybe, but it is about the loss of creativity, and it's about the loss of an imprisonment of something, and I don't know. I see it in both worlds. I saw it. I can see it sometimes in the Netherlands, although not so often. But I can also see it in Ireland. In both worlds, both aspects are there. Like there's aliveness in both worlds, but there's also a shadow in both worlds. Very much so.
And now
And,
he's adult. You said he is adult.
yeah. And now he is an adult and he actually has children, and he just became a father again. He has a new young baby.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, but that's kind of a spirit aspect in me. And I do feel that, yes, I'm more and more going less into my habit of constantly working, which I have been doing in the past a lot. And I'm more and more trying to go more into a kind of beingness and exploring that more. But I constantly am tempted to go back into old jobs. Like I constantly get pulled back into it, and then I have to kind of renegotiate things, you know. And so maybe
that's your
my
reputation,
yeah.
your
Sorry?
own. Okay.
So maybe
You're
that's what it is.
thinking that it has to do with your oh, I can't find the word.
I know the
You're
career and work.
interpreting it yourself.
Yeah, I feel, but I feel it also happened to me. I do think in my childhood, we were extremely restricted, and we were told to be basically to be good, you know. And so I do feel that did happen. That did happen, and and I see maybe a continuation of this happening in the current world. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. You know, there's this description of from Wordsworth. There was a time when meadow, grove, and stream, the earth and every common sight, to me did seem apparelled in celestial light. You know, the aspect of this. Now the fact that it is this man who just had a boy, he's reborn. You know, I mean, there's aspect of this rebirth aspect in him, you know, that comes into being. Yeah, the history of chenille. Thank you, Carilla. That's beautiful. Yeah. But Charles, what do you think about it?
But that
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. I learned so much with these symbols too.
And then it might be an answer to your own thoughts. This dream is confessing that you are looking at what you are already looking at in your life. I think
the poison of the adult medicine.
Yes.
You know, the fact that the adult medicine is stifling everything. You know.
Yeah.
and in us as well, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing. I tend to be well, you know, because I'm so introverted, you know, I just don't, and because I'm also totally unfortunately, you know, my wife, I can't tell anybody what to do. You know, I'm just do whatever you think you should is proper to you, you know. And so yeah, I'm the fact that our outer world is becoming more restricted, you know, and I don't want to go there.
Yeah, I know.
But
Yeah.
it definitely is something that is a current and the inner world sees something there and says, oh yeah, you know what's like that in you, you know,
Yeah.
here's an aspect in you. The adult realm is so restricted. Okay, go ahead, Charles. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I mean, I don't really have a lot to say. I'm pretty on board with what everyone was saying. I mean, I think it's very hard to, I think the whole Western world, even the Eastern world, it has this problem of, you know, suppressing the child within, and it's just not, no, the inner child is not very good for the bottom line, or the status quo. You know, so yeah, I mean, I have my own dreams of, you know, that I would compare to it. But yeah, I'm pretty on board with what everyone was saying, so I don't have a whole lot to add.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is an aspect that comes up in your dreams, Charles, of it is the that there's an aspect of us that was misborn, you know, that you know, you can have a misbirth in real life, but you, even though you've come into being, there's an aspect in us where we need to go back and because we've lost the growing thing, you know.
Yeah.
Anything that stops growing is dead, you know. So this is the idea in symbols. A symbol, as long as it is alive, is something we can't understand, and yet it draws us towards it and changes it. But once we've defined it and you know, given it a definition in the dictionary or something, it's no longer effective. So you know, the adult world. Now let's just talk about the adult world too. Is the adult world has like three, you know, let's say just life itself has three stages. One is this growing aspect, and then suddenly we become more serious and quiet, hopefully, and we then you know, I know some who aren't very close to hand, children that we're trying to help, and anyway, then you go into the adult realm where now you have to be the parent, you know. And one thing, my wife and I, you know, we have this one daughter who's just absolute best mother ever, and how she does it is she never gives up her adultness. She never starts yelling and screaming, you know, being unreasonable, getting upset and emotional. She's not dry about it, but she is just a wonderful nurturing person. Yeah, go ahead. I better shut up real quick. But the aspect is this: that's the second half of life. Then the children are grown and gone again. Now what happens? Okay, now it is our ontology. This is the reason we were born. You know, our teleological or ontological pattern needs to finally come into existence without any other distractions.
Yeah.
You know, and that is this. So we have to be reborn after that aspect. Now in India, they call it going in the forest years. You know, in other words, at that point, the father of the house, who's provided for everybody at some point, suddenly leaves the house and goes in and he lives in the forest, because now it's time for the forest years. And what's the forest? It's nature. It is the nurturing mother. So he needs to go back and start. That's his rebirth. His rebirth.
Yeah, and I actually I feel that is also something that might be going on in me. You know, that I'm on the edge of something like that. Yeah.
Because I had a thought with relation to that, Annette, and it's kind of related to the injection to the little child, and perhaps also the sort of the idea of castration, which is of course not to take something away from the child, but to take something away so that the desire to regain it gives the impetus for the child to go and get what it is that it thinks it desires. And I think that goes for all of us throughout our lives. And I think it strikes me also in relation to Dahlia's dream that this negative animus, the kind of prohibitor, the one that takes something away or tries to diminish something, is also the call to action.
Yes. Yeah, the double sword. Like
yeah, precisely. And I thought, so rather than thinking that, you know, the sadness of the child, it is sad if it goes on for centuries, but it's very, very necessary for the engagement of the psyche and to sort of develop in topological space for the psyche.
Yes.
And there's a kind of a Persephone journey, if you like. But I thought that's like something that is often diminished and undervalued. And we sort of stay also in real life, stay with the conflict as a kind of prohibitive thing, but it's actually usually this thing that makes us grow most.
Absolutely, yes. That what we feel as the shadow or whatever. Yeah.
And the dream make it clear to you the problem.
Yeah, it does make it very clear. I mean, that's great, Ava. How more clear could it be?
Yeah.
I mean, that the growing thing, the rebirth in us, who's represented in this case by Von Franz had that wonderful description of the boy in a woman, you know, is the one of naive action, of naive going out into the world, and that's why it is this aspect of it shows up as a boy in this case, other than a girl. The girl with the divine child who is female has a little bit different connotation than the divine child of rebirth, who is male. He represents this naive new way of being of leading us out in the world in some type of activity that is
like the fool.
Yeah, the fool. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was what I was going to say, Camilla, when you were talking. Is you know, the world of the child is full of magic. And what is magic? You know, what Jung says, what the ancients called magic, we call psyche. Okay. So what is missing in our life right now is psyche. And what is psyche? It's this ever, it's this cornucopia of richness. It's the grail, you know, this thing, this aspect of, you know, we need to become the living grail, you know, this aspect of unrestrained abundance in the outer world, you know. And what is the unrestrained abundance in the outer world? It is the coming into being of psyche and of magic, in the fact of this naive fool, as Camilla says, one who has not been distorted by the poison of adulthood, of time and space, you know, because psyche is outside of time and space. But anyway,
but
anybody
I
else?
actually
Yeah, go ahead. No.
I have to say one thing here, because, and that might be another discussion and even a philosophical one, but I actually think the poison isn't poison. And I think it's a very important poison. I think it's, if the child would never be able to become anything necessary or anything useful unless he was and I don't know if you meant that, Craig, but it felt as if you were idealizing this fool child, the naive child. And I think that's the kind of danger here, that
The infantile aspect is the fact that it's infantile.
Okay.
Which is not, that's also a poison. But go ahead.
No.
Yeah, well, the positive aspect of the versus the infantile aspect of the child, the one who cries and is very self-willed, is the one who constantly is participating in the magical world, not in an infantile way, but in a one of growth. You know, it would be the earth with a little sprout coming out. You know,
yes.
in our own life now. What if we had just a concrete parking lot, you know, and there's a crack in it, and suddenly something sprouts up, a magical event, you know. But yes, I agree with you, Camilla, completely. Is that there has to be the youthful aspect has to be the youthful aspect in why does a child need a parent? You know, because they can't take care of themselves. But once, let's say now we can bring that childhood back to us after we can take care of ourselves, something that we lost along the way. You know, the shades of the prison house close upon the growing youth within us. You know, well, now at this point, yeah, we have the freedom. Go ahead, Camilla. I'm sorry.
These dreams today have engaged me a lot.
Yes.
Ned, I was thinking that the very thing that was injected, and I was thinking that, let's say that I know he was injected and you saw that the joy had disappeared from the child. But what was it that was injected? Was it a vaccine? Was it against an illness?
It was a vaccine, but, and I think I was thinking in myself, I don't know if that's a little bit, again, an argument against you now at the moment, but I love your story of a toxin becoming a healing cure, like a snake venom. But the only thing, it was in my dream, it was the wrong dose, that the child did not get the child's dose, that's essential, but it got the adult dose. And that's how it became so silent. So, and I feel that happens in the scapegoat story. You get more than your share. You carry too much of the collective. And then you have to learn to throw it all off, and which I did, of course. And you have to learn to throw it all off and stand up against it. And that's what happens in the end of the dream, is that the anger is flashing up.
Yeah, it will come out what you have done.
Because the other thing is, a vaccine is actually something that helps you get stronger, isn't it? It's supposed to help you be more immune to whatever is infecting you. So, I mean, I just think dreams always have two things.
Yeah.
It has also the potential that it was given a too large a dose, but that in a way could also be turned into being even stronger in the long run.
Yeah, exactly.
But
like
I don't know if I'm not trying to make it more positive too quickly. I wasn't trying to do that. So
no, I understand, and I love it. I love it, actually, the stories where the darkness becomes a healing cure. I love those stories. I adore them. But I think that it's it's a danger for if you have a kind of a tendency to take too much on. That's a danger.
Did you have
Yeah.
any final words about it, Annette, or?
Yeah, that was it. That's the final
Okay,
word.
all right, yeah. The idea of Ava brought this up in the case of the dead flowers in Dahlia's dream, is that it is they have seeds in them. So the idea is the wound, whatever wound or poison we've had, also awakens the healing aspect in us, which if you didn't get the wound, if you didn't get the poison, the healing aspect would never come into being. So what are we lacking right now is this healing aspect. And of course,
Yeah.
you know, the main crisis of the dream is the fact that the playful aspect in us has now become almost dead, or too collective, you know. Too collective
But
is
there
something.
is one thing between the getting the illness or the whatever is taken away or the wound and then healing. There is the way between. And I think that is the important part that might be missing, at least. And you were speaking about in other medical circumstances. I think I remember you speaking about a dream as well in the other Sunday group. And there is certainly missing some kind of journey in the understanding of traditional medicine, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and that's again a collective thing that you touch now, is that we collectively miss the boat there. I do think that we do not find this middle road. We fly from one extreme into another collectively in healing methods. Like, and you are advocating, you know, the kind of journey Angelique is talking about, or the, you know, that beautiful journey, or another approach of health. Is that what you say? Yeah.
Yeah, engaging your own healing capacities, which may not be taken away so quickly as a Panadol or a, you know, like a painkiller, but the depth of the healing goes further and is less just symptomatic, but becomes like integrated in your body's way of thinking about health and well-being, I think.
Yeah.
And less
Very
fear.
nuanced. I love it, Camilla. The nuance of that. That there's the middle realm. There's the poison and the healer, and then there's the meaning of the two. Now, Dahlia, Ava, or Charles, or Dawn, do you have any final thoughts about it?
May I just, because I think there is a key in this dream, like, and for me, it seems to be anger, which when I think it's very instinctual, and it's also when you are angry, you have hot blood, or you like heated, or so it's inner liquids, like they compared to the injection and the child who's static, you might think, but I think for me, anger looks like very instinctual reaction who can heat things up a little or move things from that stillness or deadness or whatever. So that's
Hey, Gary. Yeah, Gary's here.
Okay.
We can just ask him for some words of wisdom. But just Ava or Charles, did you have any final thoughts about the dream?
No, I don't.
Okay, how about you, Ava?
No.
Oh, you don't? Okay, well, Gary, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm late. I just got back from having to pick somebody up, so that's why I'm late.
Well, no problem.
Is that dream one you can put in the chat, or was that just a verbal?
Well, it was a verbal one, and I think you know, we started at 11, so we're pretty much done today. But
I thought we started at 12. Oh, well, I'm totally off then.
Well, I just was saying it's nice to see you, but we'll talk. I'll put the YouTube link up because I think these were both wonderful dreams. And so now either Ava or Dawn, you know, we owe you a dream. And so Camilla and Dahlia and Charles, and Gary, you know, try to write some more dreams down that we can keep going on. Charles, if you need, you know, we can either do one of your dreams Monday, or you can contact me and we can do one-on-one. But anyway, I'll put the link up, Gary, and I think you'd enjoy it. It was a dream by Dahlia and a dream by Annette, both of them very good. Kind of related too, and related to their previous dreams. Well, thank you, Camilla and Annette and Dahlia and Ava and Charles and Dawn, especially Dawn and Gary, and we'll see you guys next time. Okay.
See you next
Bye,
time.
guys.
Thanks.
Thank
Okay,
you
thanks,
all.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.